A new building has recently installed some elevators. The elevators are run by a program, and rules to the program are as follows. The load in the elevator is measured by a weight sensor. When the elevator is empty, the sensor will detect 0 kilograms. When the load is 400 kilograms or more, the elevator will not operate. The elevator will also not operate if the sensor malfunctions. You have been recruited to test and ensure that the program is functioning correctly. So, what would you do? Well, we need to first identify the problem that the program is solving. A problem needs to specify its requirements for valid input and the resulting output. It is clear that for the program, a valid input is from 0 kilograms to anything less than 400 kilograms. The resulting output? The elevator will operate well. Now that we know the problem, we can start testing. But what should we test? Do we want to test for valid input only? Also, how many valid inputs should we test for? What if the elevator is overloaded? Or what if the sensors malfunction and give erroneous readings? So should we test for invalid input too? How many invalid inputs should we test for? Look at this number line. There is an infinite number of input choices. No way that we're going to test them all. Instead, we should focus on conditions where errors are most likely to occur. We shall look at 3 types of conditions. First, the normal conditions, which are situations where input data is valid and follows what is expected during the normal use of the program. Well, this is simple. Since we have already identified our valid input, it should start from 0 kilograms and end before 400 kilograms. So any input that falls within this range will be our normal condition. As a rule of thumb, we will need to test for at least one input within this highlighted range for every type of expected input. For example, 110.5 kilograms. Next is the error conditions, which are situations where input data is invalid and would normally be rejected by the program. It is clear that any load size that is smaller than 0 kilograms and any load size that is greater than or equal to 400 kilograms are invalid input. Similarly, we need to test for at least one input that falls within each of the highlighted ranges. For example, negative 256 kilograms and 499.9 kilograms. However, we must not forget that other than range, non-numerical input are also invalid. For example, strings such as silly, white spacings, and empty strings. So it may be good to also include these when we test for error conditions. Last but not least is the boundary conditions, which are situations where input data is at the limit of what the program is designed to cope with or where special handling is required. In this case, the boundaries are 0 kilograms and 400 kilograms respectively. As the word boundary suggests, some of the boundary conditions can either be normal conditions or error conditions as well. It is good practice to test for all the boundary conditions whenever possible. Remember, a test case is made up of an input and its corresponding expected output. So having identified the tests under normal conditions, error conditions, and boundary conditions, what is left is to specify the expected output for each input that is to be tested. This is how we design test cases that will minimize program errors. After the elevators have passed the tests, they are good to go. To recap, we have to include these 3 different types of conditions in our test cases.